So on today's episode, we're going to talk about how to systematize user-generated content that activates authentic community. It's a brilliant episode you do not want to miss, so do stay tuned. Hello, 2Xers. Welcome to the 2X eCommerce podcast show. I'm your host, Kunle Campbell, and this is the eCommerce podcast dedicated to rapid growth in the direct-to-consumer selling space. So if you work in marketing at an e-commerce business or a founder, I'm going to help you sell more directly to your customers. Each week on this podcast, I interview an expert, a founder at a direct-to-consumer e-commerce business, or representative from a best-in-class e-commerce SaaS product, and we're focused in helping you improve e-commerce growth metrics such as your conversions, your average order value, repeat customers, your audience size, and ultimately your sales. The remit is to help you sell more directly to your customers sustainably. Now, in today's episode, before I actually go on today's episode, I want you to tell me how Black Friday panned out. How has Q4 been thus far? As we wrap up the year, I'll be very curious to know. You can reach out to me on Twitter on the handle Kunle Campbell to let me know just how things are going this year thus far. It'd be very, very interesting. I might actually even send out a survey, via email if you're subscribed to our email list. If you're not, just go to 2xecommerce.com and just look for the email sign up button there and try and sign up so we have a conversation and take this conversation beyond this podcast. Now, today's episode, when the opportunity, arrived on my desk to interview this gentleman called Adam Dornbusch, I just jumped at it because he is more around user-generated content. And if you really think about where we are in e-commerce right now, they are pretty much one lever fully in your control when it comes to performance marketing on like the Facebook advertising platform and even TikTok or any other social advertising platform. And that one lever, I'll say besides YouTube, I'm going to talk about YouTube on another sort of episode, but that lever is really your creatives, because we've been starved essentially from data. A lot of what you see on your dashboard on Facebook is wrong. A lot of the data you see on your Facebook advertising dashboard is wrong. The only thing you really have control over, because targeting is an issue, the only thing you have control over in your Facebook advertising, full control, 100%, are your creatives. And when it comes to creatives, you have brand generated creatives, which is what you devise. You create a script, you have footage, you put it together. You have creator generated content. It used to be called influencer generated content. I prefer to frame it as creator generated content, using, creators to put together content that has worked organically with high engagement. And then there's also user generated content. So that's like the triad, 3 kinds of content you use in your creatives. And what Adam does is he runs a platform called Entribe. And what they do is they systematize the generation of user-generated content. He's an ex-GoPro executive. He led them in many of their marketing efforts. He's based out in San Francisco and has put together this pretty much robust platform. It's for several industries, not necessarily just retail. It's tailored towards generating user-generated content. It's tailored towards just producing as much user-generated content through automation. It has a CRM at the heart of soul in its heart. But beyond that, it uses pretty much email and SMS and sequences, pre-defined sequences to enable you get as much user-generated content in which you could use in your performance advertising, in which you could use for social proof, in which you could probably use for reviews in order to convince potential customers who are sitting on the fence and not really sure as to whether to use your brand or not. Great convo. Just want to say something, I just want to give you a bit of an intro about him. Adam Dornbusch is a digital media executive with 20 plus years of experience in building domestic and international businesses. He's built scalable content communities for GoPro, Current TV, and Tribeca Film, Jaman, Access 360 Media, Stars, Encore, and Ripe Digital. Not finding any scalable CRM solution for creator communities, he decided to build Entribe. That's Entribe. A SaaS platform for user-generated content. Great conversation. I love this conversation because Adam was full of energy, and he was full of facts. He knows his stuff. This one I thoroughly enjoyed. We also talked about community. What is community? How do you define community? Thoroughly enjoyed this. Enjoy this episode. You will enjoy it. Before you listen to this, you just hear from one or two of our sponsors. Listen to them. They support us. And yeah, I shall see you on the other side. Thank you for listening. Cheers. Hey, Adam, it's a pleasure to have you on the 2X e-commerce podcast show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great fun.
Brilliant. Could you take a minute or two to just introduce, yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Sure, absolutely. So I came from a digital media background, everything from television to film, Tribeca Film, Stars, and Encore Entertainment. But my last stop was GoPro, where I started the media company at GoPro. And at GoPro, we had amazing influencers like Shaun White, Kelly Slater, capturing life's most ambitious and inspirational content. But what really helped build our GoPro brand was the user-generated content that my team acquired, distributed, and really engaged with the community. And in the first year, we acquired 250,000 pieces of authentic user-generated content. And that's really what built the GoPro brand, coming up to our IPO and even a couple of years after that. And about 5 years ago, I left because I realized that any brand should be able to do what GoPro did, but we needed a tech solution to solve for that.
Interesting. What was life, in GoPro prior to Entribe? I'm just fascinated. What was the work? What's the working culture like there?
It was really amazing, and I'm sure it still is. I still connect with several of my friends back there. It was a group of passionate people, really passionate about capturing life's most meaningful moments and showcasing them for the world. So it wasn't as much about the camera. I mean, it was amazing camera, great tech specs, almost indestructible, but it was really about what people were doing with the camera that was really what we're passionate about. Even every week, we would take a little bit of time to live it, love it, eat it, and go take our own cameras and go capture some of our most meaningful moments in our life. So we really embraced that culture of, you don't have to be the most amazing surfer or the most amazing skier to capture amazing content. You could just capture your kid on a bicycle for the first time, or go on your own motorcycle ride and really capture something meaningful that you want to share with your friends and family. And that's really what helps sell the brand.
Super fascinating. So it was about selling experiences. And so when you started the gig, was that the remit, or did you have to develop it with the team? I'm just trying to get into like the founder's mindset. Was it top down in terms of, look, we sell experiences, or did the marketing team sort of come up with that angle, which pretty much connects with the product?
When Nick started GoPro, it was a camera on his wrist on a surfboard. But when he turned the camera around and started filming himself doing the experience is when he had that aha moment. And so it was really that you could capture yourself in that amazing moment, and then you could share it with everybody else. And so that's when we realized everyone should be able to do this. Let's teach them how to do it. So we started really engaging with our community and showing them how they could turn that camera around and start filming themselves in that moment. And that's really when the brand took off.
Interesting. Okay. And then Entribe, so enter Entribe. So how did you why did you found, why was Entribe founded? What the early days like?
Well, at GoPro, we got really good at engaging with our community, but it's incredibly labor intensive and it's incredibly time consuming. We had 50 people on my team managing 6 different departments, everything from engaging the community, acquiring the content, managing the licensing rights, rewarding the community. And that's too cumbersome for most brands. But what I realized is if you built a tech stack and streamline the workflows, any brand should be able to do this with one marketer, a couple hours a week. And so that's what I set out to do about 5 years ago, and we did it. And so it took me about 2 years to build it. And ever since then, we've been bringing on customers from all different walks of life, every different vertical. It's really amazing to see what they're doing with our platform.
Fascinating. So did you build this, did you build it as a platform agnostic tool, e-commerce platform agnostic tool, or did you build it specifically for a platform like Shopify?
Actually, we built it for non-e-commerce platforms. So some e-commerce tools use us. We really built it for other brands that were having a harder time really connecting with their customers, not through social media. So brick and mortar stores, universities, sports teams and leagues, even even retail stores themselves. So we have Circle K as a customer, and they're a convenience store. They don't connect with people through social media, but we wanted to up the engagement level that people are having through social media, as well as drive more product sales. And really what it comes down to is, how do you engage with your authentic community and really make them part of your brand and make them feel the love?
Okay, so you brought in two concepts I really want to sort of just get into. First is retail, which I'm trying to get my hand around with UGC and retail, and the other is community. So let's start out with retail. Could you break down how to generate UGC, which is user generated content for some of you who don't know, UGC for retail? How would you sort of map that that journey out? So I walk into a retail store, I buy my stuff. Say it's a Nike store, I buy my trainers, and I'm at the checkout, and I go, how do you get me to post about the shoes I just purchased from Nike?
It's a great question. So every brand is a little bit different, but generally speaking, there's touch points where you're already touching the consumer. So what we like to say is, encourage them at every single touch point with the same messaging of, please share your content with us. And you can either share it through social media, or you can directly upload it through our widgets into your content management tool, which is a much more secure and rights cleared way of doing it than social media. But social media is good as well. So the touch points that you're referring to is at the point of checkout. I mean, you just mentioned several. So at the point of checkout, you could have a QR code. When you're actually making the purchase, it could be on the back of the receipt. It could be in the product bag. It actually could be on the product in certain circumstances of how you encourage them. At a lot of retailers, you're also capturing email addresses, sometimes phone numbers. You can remind them, hey, thanks so much for your purchase. Often people get post-purchase emails. In that email, you could message, hey, we would love it if you would upload a piece of content to us. If you do, you could get rewarded with XYZ. And that really could be up to the brand how they reward. It could be just social media credit, or it could be a coupon code, gift card, cash reward, whatever that brand wants to reward with. And there's different best practices for how you use the content.
Right, very streamlined. So I take it that this is more or less a CRM, or a single customer view. So is this more like an omni-channel, because you're talking about touch points here? So it's more like an omni-channel CRM. Is that right?
100%. Yep. We actually call ourselves CRM for UGC, because you're really managing your content, your creators, and these are your marketing department. So you're managing your community in one place. And that's really what our tool does, is it manages the community through content, through rewards, and there's lots of different touch points. But the more that you can make them part of your internal community, the more they can become part of your marketing department. And that's really what's resonating with customers these days. It's not the ads on Facebook as much. It's more their friends and family referring them to their products.
Okay, so does your platform sync up with existing CDPs or CRMs, or even e-commerce platforms?
Absolutely. We plug into many of the existing platforms, including social media. We plug into everything from Instagram down to TikTok.
Okay, makes sense. And then the second, point I really wanted to touch on, based on your prior answer, was community. There's a lot of confusion, or there are different views, shall I say, on what community is. So a lot of our listeners in this podcast are, e-commerce operators, or e-commerce teams, retail teams, essentially. How would you define, how should an e-tailer define community from your point of view?
It's a great question. Yeah, we get this all the time. So community is really anyone that you're engaging with on a regular basis. So it could be your customers, it could be your employees. We have universities, so in that case, it can be their students, their alumni, their faculty. We just had an AstroTurf company sign up, and this is an interesting one. So I thought, how would an AstroTurf company ever have a community? But they actually do, because they've got the football players and coaches that are on that AstroTurf every single day. Whether they know who they are or not, they can still activate them through their customers. So I'll give you an example. This AstroTurf company has everything from NFL stadiums down to high school fields. And so they can reach out to those high school fields, and the high schools themselves, and they can activate the coaches and the players and say, hey, take some great pictures of you on our AstroTurf, share it with us and we can reward you. So that is a harder way to find your community, but it's possible. And especially if you have the right training and tips, it's actually not that hard.
Yeah. So you have like your primary customers, and then you have your secondary customers who, are the reason why your primary actually purchased it,
Exactly.
in that
And
respect.
if you have an e-commerce store, it's great. People are driving directly to your e-commerce store, and there's ways of activating them there, but you have to get them there. So how do you get them there? You have to find them out in the digital wild, or you have to find them in a retail or brick and mortar like location to drive them there. And there's very clear touch points of how you can do that and activations.
Yeah, because the reason I'm asking is, some people have said, build your community via email or SMS, and for me, I think those are really personal channels.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're having conversations with them one on one, but when I'm part of a community, I'd like to see Sarah here, James, Hakeem. It's a sense of being part of a group of people bigger than yourself. A collection of people. So, how do you sort of drive that impression of collectivity?
That's a great question.
Online, from that perspective. And when that happens, I really do think that there's a sense of well-being. It almost becomes like a religious, like pretty much almost like a cult, but not a cult in that sense, in a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm.
You have people congregating around that product. You have Reddit groups, all coming to talk about your product. You have communities actually coming together, without you actually putting them together. How do you build that cult like movement? I know there are many touch points. That you could have touch points from a point of view of the product itself, the utility of the product itself, but just the feelings it evokes. But from your perspective, how do you really build that level of community around your
Well, it's a
product?
great question. And, the buzzword these days is meta, right? So obviously people are getting into the metaverse, and the real definition of metaverse is how much of your life are you spending in this digital wild? How much are you actually interacting with people through digital platforms rather than in person? And so, there's lots of ways to engage through forums, et cetera, which we encourage through our platform. And we help customers and employees and anyone in your community really exchange with each other. But more than that, it's exchanging authentic content. So photos and videos, how do you show people what you're doing and encourage others to do the same thing? And so that's really what we're trying to do, is connect not only one-on-one with the customer, but have those customers connect with each other. And telling those authentic stories really drives that. And then it also pulls you out of the meta into the real, because then you can have events and social engagements and drive people to those places that you want to have them interact, whether it's in a Nike store or it's at a concert or another event that either you are putting on or maybe one of your partners is putting on that you're sponsoring.
Absolutely. And I do think from an e-commerce standpoint, this is kind of like the missing link for many e-commerce brands, just because, they don't have like a physical, retail, outlets where, if I walk into a Zara, I see other Zara shoppers, and, subconsciously or unconsciously, I feel okay. I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who likes Zara. This chap, this lady, this person, they all like Zara, and they're all shopping here. And that just gives me a sense of, okay, I'm part of something bigger than myself. And it's fascinating. Okay, so obviously when you get people to generate content, users to generate content, one big issue, one really big issue is, for me, is down to the just the quality, how brand appropriate, their
Mm-hmm.
content is. How do you get them to, like, there's some, so there's a brand has their color palettes and all. How do you give them instructions that, okay, look, we on our social media we like our social media to look this way aesthetically. How do you guide them? Because with a creator, you give them guidelines and they just do it, or else
Yep.
they sign a contract and do it.
So it's interesting. And that actually gets me back. I apologize. My notifications are going crazy and I forgot to turn them off. I'm terrible about that. So driving more brand appropriate content is really the trick. So what we say with most e-commerce brands, they sort of do the drive-by activations through an Instagram ad or a Facebook ad. They get the person to the e-commerce store, they make a transaction, and they're done. Once you start, or they find a piece of user-generated content on social media and they use that in their marketing materials and they're done. And we call that drive-by activations because you're not really doing anything with your customers. If you want to create that snowball effect of creating more brand appropriate content, you really have to have a one-on-one exchange with that customer. And so there's ways of getting them into your fold, which I've mentioned before. There's lots of different kinds of activations. But once you can get them into a CRM tool, then you can really manage them on a much deeper level. So you can communicate with them, whether it's through emails or other ways, where they feel the love from the brand. And so you're talking to them because they're talking to you through content already, whether you like it or not. So if you can talk to them and educate them on the types of content that you're looking for, you can really elevate the level. I'll give you a quick example. So at GoPro, we were a camera company, so lots of content's coming off the cameras, but we don't like blurry images. We didn't like fighting content. We wanted you to shoot out in the daylight instead of inside in dark areas. It just makes the content look better, which helps sell our product. Same thing with one of our customers, Circle K. Circle K is a convenience store, but people were mostly taking pictures like next to the bathroom or in a dirty area of the store. And it was really representing the brand in a terrible way. We wanted to up the level of that content. So we started telling them, take a picture of your car with the Circle K logo in the background, or take a picture of a Polar Pop outside in the daylight. So it's a much more vibrant, beautiful imagery that we want to share with our customers. And once we did that, they started taking more and more content like that. And it really created a snowball effect. So instead of the drive-by experience that most brands do, we created a snowball effect of better and better user-generated content.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a ton of sense. You guide them really, and with the power of communication tools, with the CRM, you can actually guide them. So what does it look like? Do you have like preset templates with Entribe the pretty much playbooks towards generating UGC, or do you just provide the technology for marketing teams to kind of just adapt and put their own adaptations towards generating their UGC? Do you have playbooks, essentially, recipes?
We have all of the above, but we also take it one step further. So yes, we have vertical specific templates of brand appropriate activation guides of how different brands are doing it in that specific vertical. So when I say vertical, there's e-commerce brands, universities, lots of different types of e-commerce brands as well. And so we have playbooks for each of those, but we also have a customer success team, which works with every single one of our brands, at least on a monthly basis, if not more frequently, to really educate them and guide exactly what kinds of activations they should be doing. Because at the end of the day, every brand's a little bit different. We actually have multiple alcohol brands, and you would think all alcohol brands are the same. Absolutely not. When we're educating them on how to activate their community, they have very different kinds of communities. And so we work with them to really figure out what is the best way of activating. And they know their brand better than we do, but we know how to activate communities better than they do. And so, because that's what we do every day. Mm-hmm. And so when we work together and just have a very simple conversations, it usually takes 10 minutes a week, if that, we can help them drive much better user-generated content and really work with their community on another level.
Interesting. I really like that. In regards to UGC, what about reviews? Where does it come to play? Where's the destination of UGC? Obviously, reviews. When you're scrolling, a lot of people are influenced by reviews. On-site reviews and off-site reviews. A lot of people will go on YouTube to look for just reviews on product reviews on YouTube, and they'll check on your site. They're doing research. A lot of customers are doing their research. So from your perspective, should the UGC content generated end up on their social media with your hashtag, where you own a hashtag, or should it go into reviews, like a product review? How are your best in class customers or clients utilizing UGC content that their customers are generating on their behalf?
It's a great question, because you're absolutely right. Reviews are the best ways of selling products, period, because it's authentic. It's coming from another customer. And so people want to be referred from another customer, not just an influencer that might look or talk like them, but they want to actually see a real customer's review, and hopefully a customer that they can identify with. So what we say is user-generated content is just another version of a review. It's another form of it. So reviews, photos, videos, they say a photo is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000 photos. It's the same thing in our opinion. So you should use user-generated content all the places that you just mentioned, through social media, through hopefully in review accounts, hopefully asking the customers to actually include their photos and videos, their user-generated content in their reviews. But you want to help curate that because we call it the social media wild because it is. You have no control over your brand imagery or messaging on social media. But if you start using a CRM tool to work with your community, you can really start managing that and curating that process, which is how we actually built the GoPro brand and made it so desirable. So we're helping other brands do that as well. But you can also use user-generated content in other places. Some of our customers use user-generated content on billboards, in TV commercials. You can use it anywhere you use content today. It's a different source of authenticity. And what's great is if you give that user credit and you acknowledge that it is user-generated content coming from an authentic customer rather than a paid ad, it resonates with the other customers much better.
Yeah, makes sense. And then from a social standpoint, a brand owning a hashtag, so are you insisting that they post their UGC with the hashtag? Do they tag your brand? What is best practice?
It really depends on how you're trying to activate your community, but in best practices is usually blanketing all the places that you're already touching people. So if you're touching people through hashtags, yes, absolutely, they should be posting to the hashtag as well as you can post to the hashtag. But creating a one-on-one relationship with the customer is far more desirable. So where that content ends up can be absolutely anywhere, and it should end up as many places as possible. Again, sorry to go back to GoPro, but we put it on Virgin America seatbacks. We had Xbox channels, PlayStation channels, YouTube channels. We had it in store on television screens. So the more that people can see that content, the better. Now, a lot of e-commerce brands are limited in their distribution of content. So we can help them get onto new platforms, show them how easy it is to really distribute that content widely. Put galleries on your website, put galleries on other people's websites. People love seeing more and more content, and it's pretty easy to get it out there once you have quality content.
What new channels can you activate?
So we're, pretty much any channel that's out there right now. So we have, mobile apps. We have widgets that go on different websites that look differently. We can put it, but the best places to put it is close to your product pages, as well as any place that somebody might be trying to interact with you. So obviously through Instagram, if you have upload widgets, you can show off the best kind of content in your Instagram stories. There's lots of different places that you can put content. The question is, how quickly can you get it out there, and how much of it is going to really represent your brand in the right way?
Okay, could you please streamline what's how an e-commerce brand, a best-in-class e-commerce brand, can sort of acquire UGC content and then utilize it? So I'm Kunle. I want to purchase a phone case for my new iPhone. Go into the website. What happens?
Yep. So where you are interacting with the brand first. So you're going to the website or you're finding them through Instagram, the brand should be activating them there. So in your Instagram handle as the brand, you could push them to a upload widget. Say, hey, if you buy a product from us, please upload a photo or video of it to us here. If you purchase a product from that brand, you should be activated at the point of purchase. So while you're purchasing the product, when you receive a thank you email or even the receipt email from that brand, you should get another activation. And those activations can be as simple as, do you like our product? If so, upload a photo or video of our product here and get rewarded. And then the brand can reward that customer with a coupon code to make it further transaction, drive more e-commerce sales. They can reward them with cash, gift cards. There's a whole slew of different things that you can reward through our platform. Oh, I was going to say, and then what you're doing there is not only getting good content for your marketing department, but you're bringing that customer into your marketing department, because now they have more brand loyalty and they feel a sense of ownership over that brand more than they did just purchasing the product. So they want to participate with you more and more, and we see a snowball effect.
Okay. How important is a reward?
Well, rewards are important because they want to feel the love from the brand, but it can be as simple as social media credit. It doesn't have to be a cash reward. It can just be calling that user out, saying, hey, thank you so much for the content. And even when the brand reshares that content, giving them social media credit there is very important, just so they can feel the love.
Yep. Okay, makes sense. I think I've asked you as many questions as I could up to this point. Do you think there's anything I didn't ask you?
The only thing I want to mention is how important it is today, especially in the light of COVID. Now that every customer is used to not the most polished content. Our news broadcasters were broadcasting from their basements, and that's acceptable. So brand content doesn't have to be this beautiful glossy image. And what is quality today is not what quality was before. Also, times are changing. So quality's been changing because of COVID. There's influencer fatigue because now everyone knows what an influencer ad is, and they've started realizing that it's a paid ad, not unlike just hiring George Clooney to do a spot for you. And more and more people are engaging through private closed network communication because of all the privacy concerns online. Yeah. And so how do you really find your customers and give them an authentic experience with your brand? You really have to create that one-on-one connection with them. And there's tools to do that now.
Yeah. The two other questions I thought through. TikTok. What do you think about TikTok as a user-generated UGC channel?
I think it's fantastic. They built over 1 billion users in 8 months. It took Instagram over 8 years to do that. So it's unbelievable what they were able to do. And it's just showing how quickly content is changing. So content's going to keep changing. They're not the last ones and they're not done yet. But what content looks like, how people are interacting online is changing, and it's changing at a faster pace. And so brands are trying to get all over TikTok right now and trying to figure out how to exchange with their customer base. And there's ways of doing that. We're one of them. But just trying to hop on the next bandwagon is short-sighted. You really have to build a sense of community with your own authentic community now. And if you really want to get ahead of it, because there's going to be new platforms that come out every other day. And yes, you should find your creators there. You should find your customers there. You should talk to them there. But if you can bring them into your marketing fold, then you'll have them for life.
Two other things, licensing, right? So how do you sort of make sure you're legally allowed to reuse the content? And what about repurposing for performance marketing for paid media?
Yep, great questions. So that's actually my background. I spent 20 years clearing the rights to films and television shows, distributing them globally through major television networks and film studios. So that's why we have the most secure rights clearance process out of any of our competitors out there. I'm very, very careful about this. So, there's ways of agreeing to terms and conditions at the point of upload, reminding the customers of those terms and conditions they agree to. But also, you really want to ensure that customer is the one that took the photo or video. If you're an alcohol brand or another brand, you might want to do age verification. You also should make sure that they actually didn't scrape that photo or video off the internet and just share it with you. And it's very hard to do that, but we have tech in the background, a bunch of AI and other things like that help scan the images and make sure that the person that actually took the photo is the one sharing it with you.
Okay. And then from a performance marketing standpoint, are you getting any feedback from your existing clients on the effectiveness of UGC content as against other, in addition to other, creative types in their marketing mix, particularly in social advertising?
Yes, absolutely. So we're actually there's a lot of research studies out there right now. So user-generated content is 11 times more effective than standard brand marketing advertising, especially on digital platforms, because younger audiences recognize what is a brand asset, as well as 82% of customers trust user-generated content even more than influencer marketing. So there's a lot of research studies that are happening right now about this, and all of them are showing that user-generated content is really the path forward.
So would you sort of, I know you mentioned something about present some UGC in the hotel, screen in a hotel on an airplane. You mentioned so many other channels are activated, but I guess my question is around the presentation of UGC when you're using performance marketing. Would you present it raw, or would you have a collection of UGC so you give an impression that, look, Sally, Harry, James, Jim, Mo, they're all sort of customers, and then you just mishmash all their experiences in one reel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's important to really build a sense of community. So to your point, showing off a piece of user generated content is nice and it's great, and a shot on iPhone like Billboard actually does have an impact, but it's a one-off. If you can really show a sense of community and make it so engaging that people want to become part of that community, it goes a long way. So every Friday, we actually instituted a thing with Circle K, the convenience stores, where they show off the Friday Five, and they show off the best pieces of user-generated content every Friday. And now it's a competition between all their creators to try to get into that Friday Five. So if you can really build a sense of community as well as a sense of competitiveness between your creators to become a part of a select group, everyone wants to be a power user. Anyone on Instagram is looking at how many followers they have. Brands can help build that for their customers, and that's really important.
Incredible. Adam, this has been a very insightful, conversation. I've learned a ton. Thank you for coming on. So for those of you who want to find out more about Entribe, it's just entribe.com, entribe.com. Adam, are you active on any social media channels, or do you not do social?
Personally, my wife does more than I do, but yes, our company does a decent amount. So yes.
Okay, so what channels LinkedIn. Are you most active on? LinkedIn?
I'm most active on LinkedIn. Yeah, I do a little bit of Instagram, a little bit of Twitter, TikTok, all that, but mostly LinkedIn.
We'll link to your socials from the show notes. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and thank you for sharing, just this insights on user-generated content.
Thank you so much, Kunle. Really appreciate the time.
Cheers.